And the fallout triggering this nuclear option is something that could be radioactive for both Democrats and Republicans down the road.
CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson joins us now for more. Abigail?
That's right, guys. And Leader McConnell says if there is a fallout, he's ready to take the heat for it. Today, I spoke with the Heritage Foundation's Thomas Jipping about the implications of triggering that nuclear option and why these confirmations are so important to the majority leader.
We're talking about 17% of the federal judiciary across the country is empty. I mean, if anybody thinks about a company or an organization that they know of, if 17% of the workforce was not there, how could it function properly? And 90% of the vacancies that are out there today are on the district court level. That's the bottom level of the judiciary. Those are the courts where people take their cases. So the people who are being hurt by that are people who need to rely on the courts to handle their cases and the criminal justice system. And we have almost record vacancies today. It's hobbling the entire judiciary, and it's doing so for nothing but political purposes.
Now, one source in the Senate says this isn't exactly going to create a conveyor belt for confirmations, but how far is this going to go in clearing up the current backlog?
Well, I worked in the Senate for 15 years, and I can tell you there's no such thing as a conveyor belt in the Senate on anything. So no, it's not going to do that. There are several different tactics that are being used on the Senate floor by Democrats to slow down the process. And what Republicans just did only addresses one of them. So, you know, it's going to improve things a little bit. We do know from back in 2013 and 2014 when very similar rules applied just for those 2 years. But we do know that confirmations can increase significantly. And vacancies were a lot lower then, and there were fewer nominees to actually work through the process then. So there's every reason to expect that we could make significant progress in clearing up some of this vacancy backlog.
Now, this is the third time in 6 years the majority party has made unilateral rule changes in the Senate. Now, this is a side of Congress where things are supposed to slow down, but now there are these moves towards mutually assured destruction on both sides. Will we see more of these in the future and maybe more things that they take the nuclear option on?
Well, I mean, if you don't like something, then of course you describe it in super apocalyptic terms. If you like it, then you're talking about in terms of, you know, making the institution work more efficiently or something like that. Yes, the Senate has kind of crossed some barriers in the last number of years about how it decides how it's going to handle nominations and legislation and so on. But in the big picture, that's what the Senate does. The Constitution gives the Senate the power to determine the rules of its own proceedings. And that's exactly what the Senate is doing. Depending on the circumstances, that can be, you know, somewhat bold or kind of chart new territory. But then, you know, everything that's done for the first time is unprecedented. So it's just a matter of the Senate deciding what's the best way to operate.
And as more and more Senate rules are changed unilaterally, one still stands: the legislative filibuster to delay votes. That's something President Trump has already endorsed and McConnell has quashed. But a Democrat majority might feel differently if it wants to push through an extreme agenda. Jenna, John?